is a prevalent issue in today's society. It's a silent epidemic, often masked by the age-old adage of man up or be strong. But strength isn't about suffering in silence, it's about acknowledging feelings, seeking help, and breaking free from the chains of stigma. Casual dismissal of men is a prevalent issue in today's society. It's a silent epidemic, often masked by Casual dismissal of men's mental health is a prevalent issue in today's society. It's a silent epidemic, often masked by the age-old adage of man up or be strong. But strength isn't about suffering in silence, it's about acknowledging feelings, seeking help. From the chains of stigma. Bravado and resilience are often conflated, yet they are not the same. Admitting to struggles doesn't make one weak, it makes one human. It's time we recognize that mental health doesn't discriminate on the basis of gender. From anxiety to depression, PTSD to bipolar disorder, men grapple with a myriad of mental health issues. The first step towards change is awareness. So let's shine a spotlight on men's mental health because it matters just as much. Remember, it's okay not to be okay. Reach out, seek help, and let's foster a world where mental health is a conversation, not a taboo. Casual dismissal of men's mental health is a prevalent issue in today's society. It's a silent epidemic, often masked by the age-old adage of man up or be strong. But strength isn't about suffering in silence, it's about acknowledging feelings, seeking. Casual dismissal of men's mental health is a prevalent issue in today's society. It's a silent epidemic, often masked by the age-old adage of man up or be strong. But strength isn't about suffering in silence, it's about acknowledging feelings, seeking help, and breaking free from the chains of stigma. Bravado and resilience are often conflated, yet they are not the same. Admitting to struggles doesn't make one weak, it makes one human. It's time we recognize that mental health doesn't discriminate on the basis of gender. From anxiety to depression, PTSD to bipolar disorder, men grapple with a myriad of mental health issues. The first step towards change is awareness. So let's shine a spotlight on men's mental health because it matters just as much. Remember, it's okay not to be okay. Reach out, seek help, and let's foster a world where mental health is a conversation, not a taboo.
Men, in partnership with local Legacy Foundation and A Few Good Men, in partnership with Local Motion and NYCC, present Secrets to Success, the Men's Mental Health and Wealth Creation podcast. Yes, Wellbeing Wednesdays are back by popular demand from 7:30 to 9:30 GMT, starting on the 21st of February and every Wednesday after that till the end of March. As always, we'll be keeping it real, confronting the tough topics for a better tomorrow. Suicide, unemployment, homelessness, fatherless families, abortion, writing wills, serious youth crime and violence, divorce, breakups, breakdowns, trauma, grief, healthy relationships, parenting, education, healthcare, self-care, wealth care. Join us for Wellbeing Wednesdays. Offload, get interactive, and enjoy giveaways. Listen to the Men's Mental Health and Wealth Creation podcast. We need the best of us, inspiring the rest of us. Sisters, we need to be part of this too. Big shout out to Local Motion, supporting mental health and well-being services for people living in Enfield.
Exactly.
Good evening. Good evening,
one and
all.
all.
Good evening, everyone in the
evening.
studio. Good
And
evening
sorry
to
we're
the
late.
audience that is outside. Thank you for tuning in today. As you know, this show is sponsored by Locomotion and Legacy Lounge, and it's a series of conversations that we've been having, and this is season 2.
Episode 2.
Episode 2. Thank you.
Episode 3. Season 2, episode 3.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I've missed 2.
Yeah. And we're here to talk about some of the issues facing our communities from a male perspective, and to just have some thinking conversations over the course of the program. So last week we had a representative from Locomotion, and they was talking about funding and things that people can apply for.
Paul, who was there. They're looking after they've identified the Enfield borough as one of the main boroughs that has that good-bad divide.
Okay.
The have and the have-nots
Okay.
divide going through Enfield.
Okay.
So Enfield is their project borough where they're
Okay.
trying to starting up things
to even things out.
in the words of old Boris, to level it up.
Level up.
To level out the playing
level up
field.
playing field.
So
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
around the disparity between
Yes.
people that have and
Have
people
and the
that.
have-nots.
So we've got huge areas of London where we've got gentrification, which has had an impact on all of the communities,
All of
especially
us.
people from
Those areas,
from
where
those
that's been
areas.
gentrified.
So today I've got Marky Mark and I've got Spencer here and myself. I'm Scotty, and we're going to be
We're
having.
missing Milo.
we're
missing
Let's
Milo.
not forget Milo.
Milo.
We're missing
So
Milo.
Milo is Marlo. Let's get
Marlo.
that
Yeah,
correct. So
Marlo.
Margo, as you can see the banners, he's the CEO of Legacy Land, and Legacy Land, they do their community endeavors and they've got their partnerships where they're working with services across London
Global.
to provide support to young people, to families, and to services. And in our own guises, we're all kind of specialists in what we do. So if I was to like just go around and maybe just do a brief intro again, because we might have some new listeners.
Some new listeners.
So
today,
just to
of
give them a
course.
sense of who we
Yeah.
are. So if I start with myself very succinctly, so my name's Scotty and I am a psychotherapist. I've been qualified since 2016 and I've been working in the helping profession for about 20 years in one guise or another, and criminal justice with young people. I worked in a hospital for a period of time that was hospital intervention projects, and now it's really ironic. Mark was talking earlier, he'll introduce himself around his work that he does. And one of the things that I do now is that I support a lot of community organizations that's doing the coalface work. And when I say coalface, they're out in the communities working, but I'm providing the support to the staff in terms of giving them clinical/reflective practice so that they can understand how the work that they do impacts them how it impacts the relationships that they have with their clients or their families or with the networks that they work with. So lots of kind of lived and learned experience of doing this helping work. And that's why I'm here today, to support these guys. So I'm going to let everyone just introduce themselves, and then we're going to kick off with the subject now.
Right,
And if
I'll go
on.
I'll go next. I've missed the last 2 weeks, was here the whole of the first series we had. My name is Anthony Spencer. Obviously, you've heard Scotty refer to me as Spencer. I'm known as Spencer. Published author. Also, currently I'm a student studying mental health, nursing. And this platform deals with a lot of that. And I'll tell you something, you guys, because we haven't spoken about this since the first series.
Exactly.
Between that first series and currently, there's a lot of stuff that's come up in my studying, things like sociology of health, that really has opened my mind to the failings of our system and how we address mental health issues. And to know the textbooks are there, the pathways are there of how to address stuff properly, but the system ain't adopting these things.
It's not in place.
So I'm getting to learn a lot of that. And like you said, we're here to help. I've had a YouTube channel to help people about politics, to help people about fake news. I despise fake news and conspiracy theorists. So my whole thing's about helping people, to empowering people in whichever way they can be empowered, whether it's knowledge or whether it's help. So we're all here doing the same thing, all three of us. We do it in our own little ways. My studying right now is to help people late in my life, because I could be a nurse till I'm 70, 75 easily. So
with the way the state pension's going, you'll be a nurse till you're 80.
And the way you can, the nursing's one of those things. It's like judges, lawyers, you can work till you drop.
Oh yeah.
There's no, I was a recruiter. My oldest nurse was 82 years old.
That's what I'm saying.
And she qualified at 60. She worked for the council her whole life. And then at 50, whatever, she went and studied and qualified at 60. When I met her, she'd been in the game so 20 years, she was 80. Now she's 82.
Okay, so, so the studying that you're doing is giving you a lot of insight into
100%. And
mental health
and also
so
means I'm able to help further in my life, late into my life, as long as I got health and sense, So so I'm here to add to the game of the guys.
Okay, thank you for that.
Respect. My name is Mark. Some know me as Marky Mark. Some just know me as my government name, Mark Rowe. I try to put my hands into many pots in the purpose of giving back. So currently, one of my roles is to be a specialist student mentor for students in college. I'm also a tutor. I tutor Key Stage 1 maths and English to students that are not in mainstream schooling anymore for one reason or another. And in my other hat, I'm a healthy cookery chef, and I teach people healthy cookery classes, how to cook the same food that they eat, but just by cutting out salt, sugar, and fat.
Okay.
And in all of those roles, it incorporates me giving back. And I think you get to a stage in life where we've been teching, and it's time to give back. If you care, as the three of us, Marlo, the guests that we have, we do Mark Prince, Anthony, Spencer Fearon, all the guests that we've had, we are all bonded together by the fact that we want to give back to our community. We want to help. We want to add a positive spin onto things. So I think what we do here with these community conversations, whether it be the three of us, sometimes four, I've seen the sofa filled with five of us on here. We've all got something to say. Every man's got a story to tell. And everybody that's listening, most people will resonate with at least one thing that we touch on during the program. So if it's only one thing that touches somebody else, we're already helping and we're giving back. So these series of conversations that we've lined up and what we're currently doing, I always believe it's beneficial. It's not about taking, it's about sharing, giving back, networking, and just having the conversations. There are guys out there that are going through certain things in life by themselves inside, and it's killing them because they've got no outlet to speak about it with. There's a lot of guys out there who feel they can't let their friends, their brethren, associates see a vulnerable side of them. And I think shows like this, when they see guys like us, and we're all onions, and there's layers to us. And when you start peeling back layers, the more layers you peel back, the more vulnerability is exposed.
100%.
And a lot of guys are just not interested in putting themselves out there like that.
And some people can't articulate the situation.
There
as
you
well.
go.
So it ain't just that. There is that 100%. And I think it's more that. But there are guys who, even when they get over that part,
definitely
don't really know how to frame. So shows like this will give people like them ideas.
I
ideas
think,
and gives them,
good knowledge.
gives them that courage, encouragement
Yep.
to say, okay, then let me speak about something.
Yeah. I think that we are now living in the information age. That's what it's called.
Oh, yeah.
And if Marlo was here, he would have opened up the platform with prayer. And there's some scriptures that talk about our people are destroyed by their lack of knowledge. And through knowledge, you gain wisdom. Through wisdom, you gain understanding. Through understanding, you learn compassion. Through compassion, you learn forgiveness. So we're all here, and it's ironic that the theme that we're talking about today is relationships. And what you was explaining, Mark, is that all the people that are on this platform, through our selfishness to give back, we've all developed a relationship, a working relationship where there's a commonality that we share. There's a kind of moral kind of underpinning that we all know we're doing something, and we've reached a stage in our relationships with ourselves to understand that there's a purpose that I have here on my time here, and I'm building relationships with people that are aligned and attuned with what I want to achieve and how I see the ethos of my life, in terms of the greatest gift is not to take, but it's when you give. That's when the greatest reward is. And in our own capacities, everyone that's been on the show has been given and gives freely. And sometimes we might explore our own histories and think about how that impacts us and share that. Sometimes we might think about how people that we've worked with, raved with, communicated with, we might give some examples or think about their story. So today we're going to be looking at relationships, and it's what you said, Mark, around relationships and around mental well-being and mental health. And we're going to kind of look at three types of relationships where relationships can break down. One is the intimate relationship, that is male, intimate female. Between male, female. You have to be politically correct. Male, girl.
We're not talking about female. That's nothing to do with us.
No, we're not.
Yes, it has.
Well, I'm talking about the experience of it.
Yeah.
We don't experience.
Yeah, no, we don't. But we
then,
don't also experience men and men. We don't experience that, but we can still have.
We can do some thinking about it. Because all we can do is be thoughtful and try and understand different people. So we're going to talk about intimate relationships. We're going to talk about friendships, because friendships are also relationships that require some input, that requires managing. Some managing. And then we're going to be looking at relationships within our families, because sometimes we have families and sometimes we can have strained relationships in families. And it's different from a intimate relationship 100%. Where if you have a strained relationship, people can, goodbye, I'm going to go through the door. Or if you have a friendship, you can still make, but with families, there's slightly different nuances that are kind of involved.
A lot of variables.
A lot of yes, I like that word. So I just want to talk about like intimate relationships. So all of us have had intimate relationships. We're all, I'm going to make a guess, we're all over 50 years old.
Yeah.
So I can imagine throughout our lives, we've had all types of intimate relationships,
Oh, yeah.
whether it was a short one, whether it was a long one, whether it was a formal relationship, i.e. marriage, and what happens when relationships break down. So when we talk about intimate, personal relationships, when we lose a relationship, it's like a loss. And when we lose something or we have a loss, it's like a bereavement. It's like you have to go through the process. So one of the things that we was talking about before the show was the stages of loss and what do they look like in terms of. So there was I think her name was Cuba Ross. She was a psychologist or psychoanalyst. She came from Sweden, and she worked in a service where there was people that were terminally ill, and she did some studies over a course of a period of time on those people, and she came up with that model of the 5 stages of loss. And the 5 stages are denial, anger, denial, bargaining, reasoning, and acceptance. And when we lose any type of relationship, we go through those stages. So I suppose my question to you guys here, just to get us started, is can anyone kind of share, if they're comfortable, a time when they lost a relationship, and or from a next angle, what it was like? How did it impact them? What did they go through? What were some of the feelings? What was some of the, what was the journey?
That's a difficult one, you know.
I'll start with one.
Mm-hmm.
It's one that I always start with because I have this saying that everybody comes into your life and they either come in for a reason or they come for a season. They come for a season, they're going to be throughout your life for many a year. Yep. And some that come for a reason, they come into your life for a short period of time. That could even be 4 or 5 years. But in the journey of your full lifetime, it's a short period of time, and they come to teach you. Yep. They're there for a reason. Now, one of the last major, and I've had very few, count on one hand, as we're all being real relationships in my life. I can count on one.
So when you say real relationships, these were relationships where you were emotionally invested.
Right, that's how I've described that. The ones that got into your heart and your mind. I was
invested into.
Okay.
I respected them.
And you were committed.
Everybody would know that they was my other half.
Okay.
No more than this hand.
5.
Me
okay.
too.
Yeah, if I'm being real. The last one of those ended up bugging my phone.
Okay, so it was some type of possessive.
You mean
so
literally,
when I explain to you as in bugging my phone, I mean literally in every sense that you understand the terms
bugging.
Of bugging
like
your
FBI
phone.
bugging.
MI5
MI15.
bugging. Special branch.
Where did you find her?
Let me tell you something. Being this woman, and if I'm honest, obviously I gave her a reason. So if I didn't give her a reason, she wouldn't be bugging. But as far as I'm concerned, you went too far.
I'm going to let you finish, but I'm going to challenge you on that.
Of course you can.
Because I disagree that you gave a reason.
No, I didn't.
I'm going to just stay with, I'm going to stay.
As a man,
that's what I'm saying. I didn't want to challenge it
front and say, yes, I did. But my thing is, there are many things you can do. If I'm in a relationship and I really believe, I always say to women this, your gut instinct is the best ammunition that you can ever have. Because if you believe your man is cheating, 90% or more of the time, he is. But they want to have that proof because of their ego. Their ego needs massaging and satisfying, so they're going to delve further to get that proof to say yes. But most of the time, this particular woman taught me a lesson like this. She taught me this lesson. When a woman asks you a question, she already knows the answer. And she's going to see what answer you're going to give, whether the truth that she already knows or you're going to lie. So in this particular scenario where this woman bugged my phone, what happened was everything apart from live calls and text messages went to her phone. So if anybody sent anything to me, social media, it goes to her phone as well as mine.
Mhm.
If anybody
Okay.
sends me WhatsApps or Telegram or any of them other apps that they were had at the
Mhm,
time,
mhm.
everything that comes to me goes to her.
Okay.
So it's too long to play out on here, to
Yeah.
talk about on here
I think
how I
know
found
how
out
she
about
did
it.
that.
But in regards to that relationship, when it started, because you said that Youngie had
How
five
long were
kind
you
of
together for?
serious. 1 second.
3
Youngie
years.
said you had five
One hand,
serious.
I
One
didn't even
hand.
say five.
One
I said
hand.
one
So I'm
hand.
making an assumption.
Yes.
That one
5 or
hand
less.
means
Wasn't even
5 or
five.
less.
So with this relationship, it was one where you had some kind of connection to her in the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah,
So
yeah.
when you got to the end of the relationship, what was it like losing the relationship? Was there a sense of relief? Was there a sense of sadness? What was it like when that
If
relationship?
I'm real,
Mhm.
which I really try to be in this twilight stage of my life, is this. I was happy when
Okay.
it was over
Mhm.
because it was too much tension, too much stress. Before we finished, we went away on holiday for 8 days.
Mhm.
And in those 8 days, we had 3 major arguments.
Mhm.
We had a major argument just after we checked in.
Mhm.
Departure at the airport. So you know the writings on the wall.
Mhm.
Yeah?
Mhm.
3 in 8 days.
Okay.
I've never gone away with anybody and had that sort of situation. But coming back to me,
do you know why I'm
being-
laughing? Because I've got similar experience that I'm not
Yeah.
going to discuss on there though.
Right. But I can admit to say that some of it was down to myself.
Mhm.
Yeah, if I'm going to be a man and be real, and these discussions about being real, if we're going to encourage other men to tell their stories, as it were,
Mhm.
yeah, I can say, yep, piece of that, a percentage of that was down to me. Not the whole thing,
Mhm.
but yes, some of it was down to me. I
Mhm.
can hold my hand up and say, yes, Mark. But what I learned from it, before I lose track, is that when I said that women know the answers to the questions they're already telling you, they've already done their research.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so they already know the answers and they want to see. So my thing was this: as a man, we're still trying to cover our tracks.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that if we're really real about everything, I think that when a woman puts a question on you that requires you to be truthful, no matter which way, how it goes,
Mhm.
a lot of us shy away from that.
Okay.
And we use the excuse of saying, oh, we don't want to hurt you. We don't know where this could send you. You might want to start self-harming, jumping
Yeah.
over a bridge. But I just say,
You said,
just
yeah.
finishing that point, that to me, honesty is the best policy, no matter where it takes you.
But you know, when
1000%.
the relationship ended and you said you felt this sense of relief, you felt this sense of like a sense of freedom, and it's kind of a balance, because when any relationship ends, you got the dumper, the person who's dumping the
Oh, yeah.
person, and then you got the person who's being dumped.
Receiving the dump.
So
Yeah.
they go through different
Oh, yeah.
processes. So those feelings
Very
that you
true.
talked about is a sense of relief, a sense of why, because you actually ended it. The person who's being
Did you end it?
That's what I was just going to stop you and say, I didn't end it,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
But when it was ended, I was
You were
happy
relieved.
because maybe there was that little bit of coward me that didn't want to send them over the edge. If they done anything that was haphazard, then it would be on my conscience, or because I ended it with them, then you understand, it's on me. If I didn't end it, they wouldn't have done what they
Yeah.
done.
And,
But when they done it to me,
Mhm.
it was like to say,
and you know, it's interesting you say that, because there's two words that you mentioned, or two themes. One is accountability and one is responsibility.
yeah, oh, yeah.
So in a relationship, do you have a responsibility to your own happiness, and do you have to be accountable for the things that you do in terms of how is the relationship working? So from my sense, what I'm getting from you is, Scotty, I kind of knew this was over, but there was almost a sense of me that I was really worried about how they would cope and how they would feel, that I kind of discredited myself. And then when they did end it, it's almost like, did I do things to make them press the button so that they could end it instead of trying to end it myself? Because that feeling that you talked of, I just felt a sense of relief. And then it went into that really kind of dark place where there's all this bugging, and I'm going to use this in a quote unquote, a kind of stalking element
Well, it
after.
is. Talk it as what it is.
And now
It
there's
is.
a guy, he's a musician, Wacko Ford, he's a drummer.
Mm.
And he's on Instagram and he's doing some talks around his own experience of being in a relationship. I've listened to it a few times, and that stalking element, again, around men and masculinity and our mental health. We could be going through a relationship or an end of a relationship and not talk about that, and that could impact our own mental well-being to such a detrimental effect. So in regards to that relationship, there was that sense of relief and I just felt free, but there was some accountability that you took ownership for. What was my role in this kind of ending?
What I would say to that is this. Yes, I've got my accountability, but where me as the man didn't step up is that I kind of, in the end, just waited for her to finish the relationship. Instead of saying, taking stock right now, this ain't working for whatever reason. I could have come back from holiday and said, in 8 days, we've had 3 major arguments and we're like 3 years down the road. Something is wrong in this. Something is really wrong. So it's either 2 things. We're going to sit down and really be honest with each other and have an honest 100% conversation, or we just draw a line and end it now if we're just going to play the blame game. If I'm going to say I done everything what I done because you sent me down that road, and you're going to say I done what I done because you sent me down the road. Do you understand? So no one's taking accountability. Everybody's blaming each other. To me, that is just a waste of everybody's time. Time is precious, especially as we get older in life. So if I have, let's bring it back to men just quickly. If I have a feeling of disappointment in Spencer or yourself, Scotty, at one stage in my life, I like I allowed that. But what then happens is if I have another feeling of disappointment, I'm just like, well, forget that. You understand? And we don't really talk again. And nobody knows why. And it's really important, I believe, that we need to be upfront. I should be able to come to you and say, Spence, see what you said last week or that thing that you done? I didn't really like that. And we can have a conversation on a level. But when it gets to the stage of no one's calm, everybody's talking because they're angry, there's a different outcome each and every time.
Okay.
And I think communication plays a big part in that. If we can communicate as adults, we can get through most things, but we shy away from it.
Okay. And I think, Spencer, you made a point about, I call it emotional intelligence, around understanding what you're feeling and being able to articulate it in a way where you're not pushing someone up against, almost pushing them into a space,
into a corner
where I've got no other option now but to fight or flight. It's either I stay or I go. So
exactly. Can I cut you one there? Sorry, program host and everything.
Go on. You go on, man. I want to talk to Spencer. So like, Mark was kind of sharing that experience about one of his relationships that end, and he talked about 3 things. He said reason, but he's called it 2. He said reason or lifetime. I differ. I say people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. A reason, that person's come to teach you something,
a lesson,
or you're going to grow, or you're going to get something. Right. A season might be a period in your life where you're going through a season of, I don't know, maybe you've gone from your 25s to your 35s, and this is a season in your life where this person's come at that season. Or it's a lifetime where this person has come into your life.
Whether late or early, but they're there for your life. Basically.
So you was talking about, because when Mark was talking, you were smiling and laughing, and you said there was a particular incident that you can remember around a holiday, but we're not going to go there.
Yeah, I really don't want to go.
Yeah, we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there.
But I was laughing because his shock at that, and he said that's never happened to him. I remember those feelings. It's like, what the hell? We're on holiday. This should be happening. But again, I'm not going to go into that because it's not.
Because that's as I said, that one thing that I ask around when people are sharing this stuff is, how do they feel? And everyone's got to feel comfortable sharing their own journey or bits about what they've experienced. So again, the same question that I posed to Mark is around, can you kind of share
100%. I was going to wait for him to come back.
Okay.
And then I was going to go next, to be honest. But like him, and I'm going to repeat this when he comes back, like him, let me actually count, right? I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mine's 5. 5 people that I say cross that threshold, got into that space that I reserve for special people. That's how I see it. And outside of those 5, yeah, I remember I'm 56 now. So 5 my entire 56 years. And I'm going back to the first one, I'm going back to sort of 17 to 20. So that I count her still, because that was my late teens, and she was she's still there in my, not in my thoughts, but when I count those people, she's the first person that I can honestly say I said I love you to. Yeah. So Mark, let me just recap. So I'm going now, yeah?
Yeah.
And like I said to Scotty, I counted 5 just now, yeah?
Okay.
Going back to the first one goes back to 17 to 20. The next one's from 20 to 29. Just so I'll break it down so you guys get a clearer picture of this, yeah? Next one from 20 to 29. The next one's from 29 to 34. No, 6 years to 35. 29 to 35, yeah? Then the next one was 18 years from 25 to whatever it was.
And these are all different mindsets, different periods of mindset.
Of my life.
Mindsets
But these are, and the last one was like a year or so, yeah? These are the people that crossed that threshold. That people that I'd die for, basically. People that I'd protect with everything I got. People that I'd back, support. Even when I'm not happy with them, I'd still support them. So there's only 5, and I'm 56 years old. Obviously, that's not the amount of people we've had dealings with, clearly.
Yeah.
But do you know something, yeah? Whenever this conversation comes up, guys, and I'm being brutally honest right here, I've kind of seen myself as blessed, because none of those 5 people, I would say, dumped me. So in terms of what we're discussing, the 5 steps of grief, yeah, in the loss of relationship, going back to what you felt relief, yeah? I've never felt relief in losing, and I'm using the word losing because no matter what, when you started with that person, you didn't have no plan to leave them, whether it's a year from now or 2. So even when you dump, or when you walk out of a relationship, I don't want to use the word dump, even when you walk out of a relationship or marriage, that ain't the way your mindset started. So I still address it and recognize it as a loss, even when I've instigated that loss. But I haven't felt grief, and neither have I felt relief. What I felt, if I'm honest, and I only framed this when you was talking, literally 5-10 minutes ago, while you was talking. I'm trying to think, what would be the word for me? Because I'd never quite seen it like that. And the word for me would be mission accomplished, job done. It's done. It's the cycle's ended.
Can I just
But I
ask
haven't
you a
felt
question?
happy
And you
or sad.
But when you
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes. But when you use the terminology mission accomplished,
Mission.
if you don't break that down some more, there'll be people
Let me break it down.
listening
Let me
that
break it
think
down.
that
Let me
you've come in there.
Right. Right. You're
Yeah.
right. Let me. Everything starts with a thought.
Yes.
Everything starts with a thought. Whether you're going to kill somebody, or whether you're going to rob a bank, or whether you're going to study, or whether you're going to go for a job, a certain job, everything starts with a thought. So you have, for me personally, it's never been overnight. It's been over a period of time. I'm watching things and things just ain't sitting well with me. And then it might be an incident. There's one particular one that I can actually mention where, and that was that one I was with for 6 years, yeah? And it was literally perfect the first 3 years, yeah? Then the second part of the 6 years, I started to feel like she was grudging my kids, my two oldest ones. I got 3, but my last one's like 13 years old. These times my older ones were like 9 and 10 or 11, something like that. But I felt like she was grudging that because we were trying to have a baby and the baby wasn't coming. But I couldn't really prove my thoughts that was happening. Yeah, I had no proof. Yeah, but it would be little things like, right, these times I was active out there. Yeah, I was a promoter, but not just a promoter. I was active as well. So I was in and out. And I could start the morning in London and call her at 8 o'clock. I'm in Leeds. That was the kind of lifestyle, yeah? But I always made sure home was concrete, you know?
Everything was...
My kids always came at the weekends. And do you know what I used to do? Every weekend, I made sure she didn't have to cook for them. She didn't have to take on no extra duties.
So
they were my children.
Responsibility
right?
to do with yours.
Now, as a man, you'd think you're doing the right thing, right? When my proof started to solidify was when it became an argument. You don't cook from Monday to Friday, but you're cooking every weekend when your kids are here. What? Is that your beef?
So
serious? What would you be saying if I wasn't cooking at the weekends when they were here as well?
Nothing. Because, sorry, Scott, you're the professional in this.
No, I'm not.
But one thing I know, you see, with women, if they're not a part of something, then they're against
But she's a part of it. They loved her to pieces. She loved them for 3 years. But all of a sudden...
children loved her. But Monday to Friday, you wasn't cooking for you and her.
Yes, I will cook one away, but I will cook one away.
That's the nuances of the relationship. But you talked about the 5 that you had, and you talked about this mission accomplished kind of statement.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to that. I'm trying to break that down.
I'm just trying to think about when your relationship started. Was it based on an attraction? Love? Was there? Because if you've crossed the line, that means you've said to this person, "I love you."
We was engaged.
Okay, so there was some emotional involvement.
We was engaged. I got engaged to her. I was active them days, so I used to buy gold from thieves, and diamonds and shit. I actually had the flipping ring made in the shape of two hands holding a diamond right there. Yes, from scrap gold. Yes, the ring was worth about 11, 12K. Listen, she was the first person, and she's the third of the 5, that I mentioned. She was the third person of the 5, but she was the first person that I was ready to go the whole hog on.
Okay. So in regards to so there was some emotional commitment.
The whole thing, she had one son and I had a son and a daughter. So we was a team.
Okay.
And everything we did was towards that end, together, we're going to be together on a long term. And then we started trying for a baby after about 3 years.
Okay. So when that relationship done.
So let me go back to answering when I say the thought. So like I said, so when that argument started to happen a little bit, you're cooking weekends when your kids, I'm baffled. Isn't that the right thing to do? My kids are here and I'm not making you do nothing. I'm cooking for all of us. So in my head, I'm thinking, what are you? Is that something to argue about? Yeah. So that was the beginning of that thought that I'm talking about. Yeah. And then an incident happened where my second child, my son, I got a daughter and then a son. My son was the youngest of all the boys in the family that used to play together when we all meet up. Yeah.
So your 2 children and her child
and cousins and but of the boys were like 12s, 11s, 9s. My son's older brother, because my son and my daughter are from different mums, so my son had an older brother. He was like 9. My son was like 6, 7. So he was the youngest of the boys, So this particular day that I'm talking about, a scream, you know when you hear your child scream and it just runs through you. So I get out from the front room, I run to the door. When I get to the door, my son's finger stuck in the flipping the
Corner
hinge,
of the
the
door.
hinge of the door,
Yeah.
not the door, not the lock part, but the
No,
hinge
the
of
other
it.
side, the corner, yeah.
So you know when you see as I'm running, jogging like towards it, when I see that, picked up pace and I boom and released him. Yeah, my son's crying. Cut story short, her response to that was a trigger that done it. That her response to the whole thing,
Nonchalant.
looking out for those who got pushed behind the door. Because the ones behind the door didn't know his hand was behind the door.
Yeah.
Fair enough, yeah.
Mm.
But I had to take the action because
You
he's
heard the
screaming.
scream. You heard the scream.
He's screaming now. It's like 5-6 seconds. He's screaming, and when I see what he's screaming about, of course I'm not going to go. Let go of the door. Let go of the door. He's boom.
Show them the door.
I don't know who's behind the
Releases
door,
it.
so they all went flying anyway. Yeah, apologize to them as a grown man should,
Mhm.
but her reaction, not seeing my son's pain,
I'm the same as you, mate.
right, was the when the thought. So I'm answering his question about mission accomplished. Yeah, that's when the thought started to really.
This ain't gonna be
Is
the
this
one.
nah, man?
So for me,
Then it took, let me just finish. It took from that incident to when it done about 18 months because the love was that strong still.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to see, was that one off? Is this a phase? You know, you go through them.
You're trying to reconcile it.
Yeah,
but
trying to
deep
make
down,
sense
you
of it
know
all, but
it's not
deep
gonna
down,
work.
I'm not feeling what I'm seeing. Like, so when eventually we done, and after respect, because we shared a flat, and then them days there you can black the council in and get a place. Yeah, this is 2002 times, and it was still quite easy them times there. 'Cause I got a 1-bedroom flat with a garden, and we was together in the same house for 4 months. When I left and went into my flat, and it was that day when I was finally moving, I knew mission accomplished. So that's what I mean.
Yeah.
When I
right,
say
mission
sometimes it's mission accomplished.
Yeah.
There's other times when it had to be done, feeling I get, rather than with you as relief. I've never felt relief in even though I've never been dumped, I've never felt relief when I've walked away or I've walked. It's still a loss because you never started off that way. You never started off to be with someone for 2 months and I'm going to be with her for 6 months and then I'm just going to move on. I want to be with her for I'll just do 2.5 years. Nobody does that.
Do you know
But
what?
things happen that one person
Changes
makes
your
a
trajectory.
right. One person makes a decision. On a rare occasion, both make the decision. But normally, 99% of the time, it's the one person that makes that decision. And I've been blessed that I've been the one to make those decisions, but I still have never felt a victory or relief or pleased.
I think that's where I'm
understand?
coming from, in the sense that I've been the coward. So I've gone on and done enough things till they can't take no more and just say, this is over. Because I wasn't at a point where I could sit down with them and say, this ain't working. I was always the one to be afraid of, if I tell you, say, this thing done, the ramifications, the repercussions that can come from it. If you tell me that, any repercussions has nothing to do with me because you told me. I wasn't the one to draw that line. So that's where I was coming from. So I can use that word coward if I'm being real.
Okay.
I was the coward in it because I didn't want to have any conscience.
Maybe you
over
didn't.
any
Maybe you did.
repercussions.
Maybe you didn't get to that threshold that you need to get to make that decision. Maybe it's that. Maybe you were still just underneath it, sort of thing. Where
I agree, because
where you
maybe
could have hovered for another couple of years.
I didn't love enough, so I couldn't get to that threshold.
Right.
I didn't love enough, so that would make me
you.
hold back, give more shit until they turn around and say, "This ain't working. Let's finish it." And I'm like, "You sure? Okay. See you later. Done."
So that's really a good point there, Mark. Around
I
did
love
I
enough.
love enough? And
That's
when
a
we're
really good
thinking
point.
about,
You're right.
when we're thinking
That's a
about
good point.
mental health and relationships breaking down, depending on how invested you are in that relationship, will determine how you deal with it when it ends.
Of course.
And we're all men, we're all adults, we've all been brokenhearted. And sometimes when we have been brokenhearted, that impacts future relationships, because do we then build up a safety net within where we're with someone, but are we really with them?
I would just like to point in there, and it's not no boasting thing, but I don't really think that I've ever been brokenhearted.
I
In the terms of,
I was
because
going to say that. I'm glad you said it.
I've always
I
had
didn't want to say it because
relationships
it maybe sounded cold
on
if I
my
said that.
own terms. I've had relationships on, as far as I know, and was acting, it was on my terms. That is why it was easy for me to give out the shit, for them to say, let's finish this. Okay, those words came from your mouth. So any behavior that you keep up, any depression you go into, anything is nothing to do with me, because you decided to end it.
But do you know, let me pick you up on something real quick. You're saying basically you gave out the shit. And so in a way, in life,
some, but I have to hold my responsibility. And I know that's why I can say that I can always, of the 5 or less serious relationships I've had in my life, I know I've contributed greatly to its downfall. I contributed greatly to its upward stance, and then to its downwards.
Did you ever think, when it happened a couple of times, like 2 times, on the 3rd time, when it started to rear its face again, rear its head again, because of what you're giving out, whatever, did you ever think, you said, oh shit, this is about to happen again, you know?
No,
like, do I need to?
That's the whole point, you know, being real. I didn't care.
So then was that a meaningful relationship? Because if you're in a relationship,
that's a curious question, isn't it?
If you're in a meaningful relationship, then you have to care about the person. So these 5 relationships, were they actually relationships, or was they conveniences?
This is why I said to you earlier on, when I said maybe because I didn't love enough. I think there was always a part of me that held back. Okay. There was always a part of me that didn't.
I feel like, Scotty, let me just say this quickly. Scotty, let me just say this quickly. I feel again then, yeah, and I'm saying this tongue in cheek, yeah. I feel like I'm being robbed because the relationships he's talking about, I don't think he was invested in it like I was in mine.
Okay.
Because every one of those people that I just mentioned, yeah, the reason they crossed that threshold is because now they're inside of that threshold. They're safe.
Yeah,
so they're gonna get anything.
So this is really interesting.
You see what I mean?
And I hear that.
And if you didn't have that with those handful of people, then
I did. Sorry, Scotty. Then you can deal with us, because you're dealing with the 2 of us. I think my thing was that, yes, I'm letting you in, but I'm always letting you into a point. I'm always letting you into that point where you pee me off massively, then you'll see the change in me. Okay. I'm off. I'll start to act differently and make you finish. That's why I can use the word coward when I'm talking about.
Let me hear Scotty's take.
So my curiosity now comes to this point. Both of you are saying that there's almost a barrier that we've installed so that we don't get emotionally hurt.
No, not me.
I did, yeah.
Okay, so in regards to...
That's what I'm saying, that was a difference.
When you say not you, I'm going to differ, and I'll tell you why. Because if you're saying that someone was going to have your baby, you was thinking about marriage, when that relationship ends, you were emotionally connected. So not unless you are really just immune from your own feelings, you felt something.
Yeah,
you
felt
something.
He's just cut something again.
Of course. Like I said, sorry to cut you. I just want to address that. Of course you feel something. But again, like I said, yeah, I've never felt victorious. I've never felt relief. But I've also haven't felt lost. I've just felt it's done. What's done is done.
You know what I mean? Last week, sorry, I'm going to cut you guys. Last week, I was on a different platform and I had one of my therapist friends from Canada, and we was talking about emotional intelligence, because one of the things that you guys said around is communication, articulation of your feelings. One of the easiest feelings to use, to mirror, or to mask your true feelings is anger, and I didn't feel anything. Because when a relationship ends,
Could be.
and I challenge people with this all the time, we need to learn to sit with ourselves, and we need to understand, what is it that I'm going through? Because when I'm hearing both of you say, boy, I didn't really, at some points in your life, you learned to build that barrier, and you only learn that when you've crossed it and you've been brokenhearted.
Can I address that? Can
Hang
I
on, let
address
me
that?
just address one thing first. For me, I don't know. A question people ask me, I have 3 children, and the questions come up when you're talking about children, you know, how was you? Did you cry when your children were born?
Mhm.
And for each of my children, and even as far as my grandchildren, I have 3 children and 4 grandchildren.
Bless.
I didn't cry for any of them. And it's not because
Me
I'm
neither.
cold-hearted. I didn't cry. I was happy. I was overjoyed, and I loved them. But it didn't bring me to the point of saying that I shed tears. Let me just finish that point. I said it, I think, on the first week, on the first round of conversations we had back last year. When my dad passed in 2010, that was the first time I cried at the church in front of a packed church and showed my vulnerability. And the last time I'd cried before that was 25 years. And I could pinpoint it to the day when my right hand, me being the left, and my right hand got remanded in jail, and he was going to jail for a long time. And I come up from the courthouse and I was crying because my brethren that we do everything together is gone.
Before I lose my thought,
So I don't have it.
You don't remember what I said about my mum. You was all here when I talked about my mum. My mum passed. I thought I was a freak of nature that didn't cry for a whole 8 days. She died on a Saturday. It was the following week's Sunday at church when they called her name and they were praying for her that I broke. Yeah. But in response to your situation, the only way I can put it, you got kind of remember what I'm saying to you. The breakups were my instigation. So the only way I can explain to you, we've all done bad things. Yeah. We've all run up on people and shit. It starts with a thought. Yeah. I'm going to run up on that guy. I'm going to grab how much boxes or whatever. You put it into action. If it goes wrong, are you going to feel depressed? Are you going to feel lost? Are you going to?
Yeah, but
you won't because you made the decision.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to explain to you is, in my own situation, I'm not saying you're wrong, you know. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, for me personally, my own experiences, because I've made that decision, and I said before, it's never happened overnight. I've never just gone bed tonight, I love you, and wake up tomorrow, I don't want you. It's never been like that. So it's been a process. And when it's a process, with the example I gave you guys, my sons, it was like 18-month process. So I've worked and I've debated within myself. I said, do I need to stay in this? And then the next day I'm in love, and then the 2 weeks after I'm like, see what I mean? That's why I need to come out of this. And then a week later we're good again, and then we went Malta, and then it was all great. And so when you go through that process, what I'm trying to say to you, for me, is you've kind of worked it out.
You've worked it out.
You've
So
worked it out. You've reconciled with your decision, with the decision you're about to make. So it's not that it's hard. How can you feel heartbroken when you made your move?
That's right. Yeah,
you made the move. So it's hard to feel heartbroken. And even if you should feel heartbroken that the person you wanted to spend the rest of your life with isn't with you no longer, even if you should feel heartbroken, it's almost impossible to, because you left it.
So when you leave something, it's a loss. And I want to come back to the emotional well-being of loss.
It's a loss.
Sorry.
Because when you lose something, Mark, all right, if you're with somebody...
I don't know if it's a loss.
It is a loss, because I admitted it. I admitted already that in a sense it's a loss, because remember, you never started off with that person to say, I'm only going to spend 3 weeks with you. I'm only going to spend 9 weeks with you. I'm only going to spend 9 years with you. Nobody starts like that. So 100% I agree with you. I've felt the loss. But see, my loss is not the sort of loss where I've decided I'm going to deal with this.
Well,
loss.
maybe that is what it is.
You see what I mean? I've decided I'm going to deal with this loss.
Accept the word loss. I started off by saying people come into our lives for a reason and a season.
Or a
So if
lifetime.
someone comes into my life for a reason, I don't see it as a loss. I think that's my way of reconciling, so I don't go downhill, so my thoughts don't get dark, is that, do you know what? Well, obviously, if it went this way, he or she, because depending on the relationship, wasn't meant to be here for the journey. They came
And
to
that's your
teach
way
me
of-
this particular lesson. So maybe that's my safety mechanism of saying it's not a loss. It was a teaching.
So you know what I would call it? I know, you know what I would call it? I would call it this.
I have to run toilet.
You go toilet.
We're all 50 plus, so
Yeah, it's all right. Last week, it was really important because one of the things that they spoke about was prostate cancer. And it's ironic that you said he's 50 plus. Because once you get to 50 plus, it's important that you check out your prostate.
Of
It's
course,
one of
they
the
tell
things
you from
that
you're 40 plus to
to
start as a
check it.
black
'Cause
man.
one of the things, and Basil was here last week.
Yeah.
I want to come back to where we are. But he spoke about there's two ways that your doctor can do that. And again, this is a
Physical and
relationship.
PSA.
Depending on the relationship that you have with your doctor can determine how well you access your medical kind of care. So one is your PSA, that's your
Yep.
bloods,
and
and
your
one is
physical.
your physical examination. But I just wanted to highlight that because when he said he's going to toilet, that's when we think about the conversation that some of the symptoms of
But in
going
this
to
case
urine
here,
at night. But because we're sitting down and we're
because
drinking
sitting
water
there and we're drinking water, and a couple of us have had a little drink of white rum that will send you to the toilet faster.
faster.
So not
I
everything.
mean, I drink white rum. You know the
Right.
wickedest thing? You know when you introduced yourself and you said your name's Mark Rowe? Growing up where I grew up, I always knew that Saxon sound came over from your sides of London.
Mm.
And I think the guy, one of them's got a
Dennis.
name, Dennis Rowe.
Yeah, my cousin.
So Angie just clicked to me now. I've known you
Connection
for a
and
long
little while
time.
now, yeah.
And it's Angie when you said Mark Rowe, and then I'm thinking South London, Saxon. So when we was coming up, Mark, don't forget every area would have their sound system.
Of course.
So I'm
And it was
from Northwest
Volcano
London,
Express.
Volcano and
That's
Java.
right. Yeah.
And we used to play, so over North London, you had Unity.
Mm.
South, you had
Unity and
Saxon.
Jimmy Magic was north, south was Saxon, Coxon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I remember going in the van. There was a movie that I watched. I think it was it Babylon with Brinston Ford
Yes,
when they
Babylon,
and
Shaka
Beefy.
and Beefy, yeah.
And there's a scene in that movie where they're going out to play and they're putting the boxes in there.
Yes.
And I remember Stonebridge, like we used to have the van, and R.I.P. Lincoln. There was a guy named Lincoln. His son now is Courtney. He runs Volcano Sound, yeah. But Lincoln, we used to call him Stereo. And we'd have the sound van. And like we'd be the box boys and like putting 18 inches on our chest and we're putting it in the van and all that. And then we're going out and then you squeeze up in the back of the van and
That's right.
one foot is against 180 and one is against a tweeter and you're almost like the brace. But it's when you said Mark Rowe, I thought Saxon sound. But PSA, we talked about that. The little side conversation while Spencer went to the gents. But I want to come back to you guys because we talked a little bit about relationships and when they end and the cycle of loss that we can go through. And through your lived experiences, what you guys have shared is that we've almost dealt with the loss in an emotionless way. We've looked at it from a masculine, emotionless way where we haven't
emotionless way.
And then I posed the question to you guys: was you really emotionally invested? And that's some food for you to go away and think about. But for the audience out there, there's some men that don't have that resilience, and when a relationship ends, they go through that dark cycle of
100%.
the loss. Because when you lose a relationship, you don't just lose the person.
It's the time invested.
You lose the time and everything connected.
Yeah.
Friendships. So you've built friendships together. There's places that you used to go. There's things that you used to do. You could have had dreams. So you was talking about this diamond
ring, the diamond ring.
When you made that diamond ring, or when you went and you got the scrap gold and you got all of this, you've gone out in gardens or wherever you've gone, and you didn't do that because it was an emotionless thing. There was some feel, and you was able to detach from it.
Behind that.
But some men around mental well-being, when relationships break down, they go to a dark place. And I want to kind of do a little bit of thinking
We want to
before
hear
we move on.
but you haven't talked. We want to hear your.
I've had many relationships.
Yes, so talk about. Give us your perspective.
My perspective.
Because we've heard mine and Mark's.
So
before we
the
move on.
first person that I had a relationship with was when I was going to school, and it's really weird because this person, we used to go play something. They were slightly younger than me, 2 years younger than me, and we used to go play centre together. And we went to the same secondary school. And it was a few years later that we started dating. And that was the first woman that I lived with. And she had a good job. She worked in this company in West End called Chesterton's. And I was on the road. And I went through a really dark patch of substance misuse where things just became really sticky in my life. And like that relationship broke down because of the consequences of my substance misuse. But I can hand on heart say that I loved that girl because she was my friend before she was someone that I had a relationship with.
Yeah.
And I remember when that relationship broke down. So I'm a Jamaican. She's a Jamaican. Her parents are Jamaican. So even though we're English, we still got that kind of rawness. And there was so much pain when the relationship broke down.
On your part?
No, it was on
both
her
of
part
you.
because I'm on the gear. Bang on the gear. I'm just doing nonsense now, yeah? She's got her job. She's in Chesterton. She's doing what she's doing. And like, I'm doing some really immoral things. I'm doing things that is just not right.
And it's going against
It's going against the grain. And I remember like, I'm in the house and she's gone to work and I'm bang on the gear and like there's evidence in the house and she's come home from work. She's seen the evidence and like, this is a different show altogether because this again is to do around mental health and around our community. 1987, 88, when crack cocaine came, none of us knew the real devastating effects of that was coming. And we're all from areas
because you're the guinea pig.
We was the guinea pigs.
Yeah.
So my generation, we were the guinea pigs.
Us,
I was
generation.
about 19. Bang on the gear. That's bang on the gear.
87, 88, I was 21. 21 in 88.
Hold on. How old are you? 55?
56 now.
I'm 55.
Right.
So
I'm born 67.
So I was older then. And
So you're born 68.
69.
See, I'm born 67 October.
Okay.
So
1987, 88, 89, I would have been about 19.
Yeah.
And like,
well, drugs, just digressing slightly, changed then. At that period from 87, say upwards, that's when the ecstasy, the ease, and all these things, the crack.
That's when the crack
and
came
all
in.
of this
I remember,
came in.
and I want to come back to what Spencer's saying. I remember when I used to go to some dances, company special, and like, man, then would say, "Oh, banning Palico spliff in here," because Palico spliff was different from Wash Rock. Wash Rock had a different, of course, smell. It had a different.
Palico stink.
Yeah, and it used to
stunk out of dance. You know, man would go in the corner, but you know the corner straight away.
And like, remember, man used to say, "Oh, man, smoking Palico in here, here, and here." So anyway, in regards to that relationship, because I had a friendship with her, when that relationship broke down, there was a lot of pain. So I've gone back to my mum's, but we've invested in some bits, some furniture and so forth. And at that stage, I didn't have any emotional intelligence. I couldn't communicate how I was feeling. So the anger came out. And I remember that we had a massive conflict outside my mum's house. And it was myself and my brother, the girl and her mum and her brother.
Five
and,
of them.
And this time now, me and my brother, he's 2 years older than me. But my brother, he's been naughty from day. He's been naughty and like.
So he's already on it.
No, because then my mum's in the background and my mum's just saying, please don't do it. Because my mum knew that if we had gone to town on them, it would have been. So that caused a conflict. And for years, we didn't talk. And by that time now, I've done some bad.
Or you and your mum?
No, me and this girl and her family. But don't forget, I've known this family from when I was about 11, 12. The mum used to be one of my mentors,
So
a
when
youth
shit hits
worker.
the
But
fan,
when that
everybody
all went
forgets.
peak wrong,
Yeah.
there was just a big conflict and there was lots of feelings. And by that time now, done bird, couple years have passed and I've come out of it now and I've seen her and we've communicated and no word of a lie. She's one of my best friends today. Like recently I've gone through like different types of relationship breakdown. But that person, to this day, that love I had for them, even though we had that conflict for a couple of years, it was genuinely there. So in regards to Spencer's question around what is my experience, relationships are personal, they're intimate, they carry feelings. And when a relationship breaks down, what I've learned over the years is that you have to sit with yourself and understand the losses, understand the pain.
Self-reflect.
You got
Have a
to, and one of the
conversation
things you
with
mentioned
yourself.
earlier was accountability.
Yes.
And then I had to take accountability. So this is through all of my adult relationships. And let me try and think about my adult relationships. So I'm going to do like you, Spencer. I'm going to try and count on my hand.
What's your smile on this?
No, I am.
2 hands gonna go up.
No.
I just told you.
I've had 5.
Okay.
5. Yeah,
Same
it's
as
mad.
you within our
But the one
bracket
that
then?
I'm now in, the relationship
Yeah.
now,
Would you add her in that number?
100%.
So is
So
she the
that's 6.
5th or is she 6th?
She's the 5th. She's
Okay.
number 5. And
She'll get the best because she's getting the more mature, experienced version.
That's
of
what.
you.
That's
And that's what the issue is.
you made a point, yeah, about reflecting. I have to say this, yeah. Certain times I look back on myself and I say to myself, fucking hell, oh, sorry guys,
French.
sorry. I have to say to myself, geez, how did you even know to do such and such? Because you see, every one of those 5, when it's over, I've been a better person for the next person.
Experience.
because you've
I've
learned.
been a better, but it's been planned. It's been intentional. It's been, where did things go wrong? Where and as much as I would say, like with the example I gave, I know where things started to go left for me when I started to first suspect that she had a grudge against my children, but it was a suspicion at the time, and it stayed a suspicion for many months.
Yeah.
And when it's a suspicion like that, it's like a girl thinking you're cheating. Like
That's
you
what
was
I'm saying
talking.
to you. Yeah.
It comes in the girl's mind that I wonder if Mark's seen
Well,
someone
it
out
doesn't.
the door.
Sorry, just to cut you. It doesn't come from your mind. It is
comes from
your
your gut.
actions.
And
Yeah,
you know,
instincts.
I'm not going to
Instincts.
put a little bit of
Yeah,
science
instincts.
into this. I'm just going to put a
Instincts.
little
You're
bit
right.
of science into this so that we can make sense of what our gut feeling is.
Yeah.
Baby, when baby is being conceived, so when sperm meets egg, cells start to split. You got the first trimester where you have the embryos quite small. In the second trimester, you start to get all the brain development and so forth. Yeah. And part of the brain, when it's developing, detaches and it goes to your gut. So that's why your gut is your unthinking brain. So when we normally have a gut instinct, it's almost like
It's factual.
it's our unthinking brain.
Yeah.
And we could speak to loads of different people, maybe even some of the guys in the room with us now behind the scenes. And we could ask them this question. Was there a time when your gut instinct told you something
And you went
against it? And it was actually, so your gut instinct is almost your unthinking brain.
It's your
So when-
sixth sense.
It's your
I
sixth. It's on
believe
your.
it's
It's on
your
your
sixth
sense.
unthinking brain.
It's your sixth
100%.
sense.
That's why I tell
That's
men
what it
and
is.
women
It's your
alike,
sixth sense.
If you feel something within you, it's a fact.
Right.
Yeah. So
It's
when you
how
talk
you
about gut
manifest
instinct,
it.
you said that women will have humans. When we have a gut instinct about something, a
You're more or less
situation,
right.
not unless you are extremely paranoid, but if your gut instinct informs you of something, and then you start to understand what it's saying to you, you will act on it. So in regards
And
to
when you
my-
love someone, what you do is you don't act on it, innit? You kind of sit back and think, I'm sure I'm wrong. Do you understand? You kind of, but you keep your eyes open. But you keep your eyes open.
I'd go as far as to say, you know you're right, but you don't want
To be right.
So you dismiss it.
Right,
It's
but
like-
not totally.
No, you always
because it's your gut
subconsciously you're
instincts,
going to have
you
feelings.
keep your eyes open.
All
for
right,
that.
just to add a
So
little
in my
bit more.
story, it was like I said, it was when I first had that gut instinct, yeah.
Mm.
From when I start see things to confirm it, was a good year. And by the end of that year was when that incident
Because it
happened.
made you feel better about your gut instincts because it's now manifesting in front
no,
of your
I'll be honest with
face.
you, I didn't want that to be the case.
No, I know you didn't.
I didn't want that to be
But
the case.
when you are now proved
I
to be
was hurt.
found,
I was hurt. I'll be honest with you. I was hurt because I'm 100% for my stepson, her son.
Mm.
So
But
the
she
feel-
wasn't feeling
You know
the
what?
same.
The
And
feeling
I'm
I'm
gonna
getting- the feeling I'm
stop you
getting
right
from
there.
that-
You know what? I love what you just said. When you said about mission accomplished,
Mm.
and now what you said, the real feeling that I had, I was hurt.
I was no, not about the breakup. I was hurt about
The investment time.
confirmation of my gut instincts. My gut instinct confirmed, and the ultimate confirmation was the
Alright.
incident that I
Oh,
told you
Spence,
guys about with the door with my son.
I've got some
fingering
bad
the
news
door.
for you. I'm going to join Scotty in the sense of, yes, it was. When Scotty says you was hurt and you say, no, it was my gut feeling, there was a part of you that's hurt because guess what?
Yes,
You didn't want your gut feeling
To
to
be
be
right.
correct.
100%.
So when it's proven right, you are
I'm hurt. I'm
You're
like,
hurt.
what? Yeah,
Okay,
of
so
course.
that's
what I'm
the
saying.
crux. That's the crux
100%.
of emotional well-being.
Yes,
'Cause
100%.
For the benefit of the audience out there, I'm aware of time, and I'm going to move us on slightly. But when intimate relationships end, so we've all given an example of when an intimate relationship ended for us, and the process that we went through, and how we kind of dealt with the emotions that were attached to it. Some men, they build, not some men, some people, they build defense mechanisms where
Oh, yeah.
I won't allow someone to come in to
And
cross
hurt
that,
me.
to hurt me.
Yes.
And this is me speaking from my therapeutic experience. Anyone that says to me as an adult, they've never been brokenhearted, I said, you've never been in love. Because if you've never been wholly
I
in love,
disagree with
where
that.
you've been, I care, and then this is where we question, what is love?
You
What
got to
is
remember.
love?
You got to
Sorry,
remember.
let me
Yeah,
just cut you there, 'cause-
broken-hearted is the extreme
Yes, but listen to this.
of emotion.
But what-
So listen. You can be so sorry, Fab. Yeah.
go on, fam.
Look, I don't give a toss about what happened. Is one end. I am broken-hearted to the max. Is the other end.
And it's that middle ground.
There are enough
see,
levels.
that
There
point
is
there,
enough
That's
stages.
a defense mechanism, because if you don't give a damn, what you're saying is, I am not allowing myself
Yeah, I
to
know. I'm not
feel
saying we felt that.
what I'm feeling.
I'm
Well,
just,
do you
I'm just
know
giving
what?
you the range, in my opinion,
That
the
there-
range of feelings.
Sums it up. Because when you said that you can't never feel, I can say I've never felt real deep broken heartedness.
I can't
because
tell you what
maybe
being broken
I've
hearted
had
feels like.
that mechanism there not to penetrate me enough. And as I said earlier, maybe I've not loved enough, I've not given enough of myself out there to be broken. Because to be broken hearted means you are putting yourself out there.
Not necessarily.
yes.
Being broke. I was broken hearted when my mum passed, and still I didn't cry.
You're right, but
Yeah?
you was
And
broken
I'm still
hearted
broken
because
hearted even now.
that's
that my
a
mum got
different
hit.
relationship
Yeah?
because that's you and your mum. That's from birth
I get you.
to what you are
But
now.
what I want to say to Scotty, yeah, me and Mark are on the same page, but for different reasons.
Yes.
You also have to recognize that.
Mhm.
I could, if you ask me right now, what's it feel like to be victorious about something? I could describe it.
Mhm.
If you say to me, what's it feel like to lose a fight? I can't. I don't remember ever losing a physical
Yeah.
fight my entire life.
Mhm.
If you ask me, what's it feel like to get punched in the mouth? I can tell you what it feels like because I've been punched in the mouth. If you ask me what it feels like to be shot, I can tell you that I've been shot before.
But I'm talking
But if you
about
ask me what it
emotion.
feels like to be brokenhearted, it's another experience that I can't define it for you.
So loss. So when we talk about loss, because I'm thinking about the audience out there, and I want to be kind of really clear. When we go through loss, when we lose a loved one, we go through a cycle of grief. And part of that cycle is to acknowledge that you are grieving.
Do you know what I
Because
go
if
through?
you don't acknowledge you are grieving, and that you are experiencing some emotional loss, you become now emotionless, where you just live in that masculine
Spencer,
energy.
No,
Scotty,
do
let
you
me
know
just
what I go
say
through?
this,
I go
brother.
through missing what I would describe as missing the good times. That I can tell you I go
That's
through.
a loss.
Yeah, that
It's
I
a
can tell you I
loss.
go through.
Missing is a
the
loss.
good times. Yeah. So even when I've been the one to say I'm out of this,
A
yeah?
miss is still a loss.
and I'm sticking by my decision, and I know if I went back and said, you know what, I'm back. I know that's on. Yeah. However, because I've made that decision, I'm sticking with it.
But that,
Then I've gone through what I would with every one of those 5, what I've been through, or what I can describe to you guys, which I won't call it brokenhearted, is missing the good times, missing the good
Yes,
parts
So that's
of it.
But
part
that's
of
what-
the cycle
But
of
it's not.
loss.
But yes, fair enough, and I will own that. However, it ain't missing it to the extreme. Like I said, remember I said to you, one part of the scale is I don't give a rat's ass. The other side of the scale is man who can't even get up and wash.
let me
Oh,
tell
I
you
miss
this
her.
now,
I miss him.
because I
I
got to
miss her. I
go
miss him. So
Let me-
in those extremes, I'm somewhere
in
round
between.
there,
Because you
even
know
though
what
I've
that
made
is.
that decision.
But you know
And
what
I
that
will
is?
accept that.
Mhm.
Accept that
You know
all,
what
Mark.
I'm understanding today?
Yeah.
I got to go for another toilet break.
Yeah.
Never no more white rum before a show.
Don't do it.
Let-
Yeah?
don't
Next
do
week,
it.
don't
He
do
gave me
it no
white
more.
rum.
What have you noticed
People,
today,
he
Mark?
brought
What
white
have
rum
you
in there, and now he's
reflected?
making us go
To the
toilet
toilet.
every 5 minutes.
I'm gonna
I
say
don't
this.
drink right, man.
I now overstand this conversation here that we're having
Yeah.
has made me identify with certain things in the sense that every miss is a loss, because I've had relationships break up, not down to me in the sense that I didn't do the breaking up, but from every now and again, from time to time, over the years, I've thought about that relationship. And I've thought about the good things in that relationship. Yeah.
So
the bad
that's
things
a
brings you back.
loss.
So that's what I'm trying to say.
And when you're having those memories,
it's
those,
a loss.
when you're thinking about that person,
something that has
there's a
gone.
feeling that has been almost instigated where you're thinking,
I've
it's a
I've
feeling
been
that
with
makes you
women
feel.
over the years where we've had a short-term relationship and I've gone on my bad ways and it's done. And I'm thinking about them and they wouldn't know that. I'm thinking about them and then I might have a conversation, and my conversation may be a thing like, we've got unfinished business.
With
Because
them.
yes.
You have a
Because
conversation
as
with
far
them.
as I'm concerned, when I do have that conversation now, I can have that conversation, might be a year, 2 years, 5 years later. You know, me and you got unfinished business because I put the power in their hands to finish the relationship instead of me. They would have finished it prematurely before I wanted it to end. I know what I'm doing to force it to end, but at that moment in time, I didn't want it to end. But they've done it because I've given them the power to.
You've given them
So
the
later
reason.
So
on,
it's almost-
I
You've given them the
self-reflect.
reason,
That's
not
what
the
I said.
power.
No,
The
and
reason.
the power.
So
Because
you
I'm not fighting
then
it. So you've got the power.
So you've then, almost like what you said in the beginning, instead of really understanding how I feel, I've taken the cowardice way out and
That's what I
I've
said
done
to you.
things
I can hold
to
my
make
hands
them
up and done
so
the
instead
coward
of
way.
so
Yes.
I know you're gonna go to the toilet and so forth. And I'm aware of the time for the audience out there. So we've kind of
We've
danced
still got
a little
20
bit.
minutes. We've got 20
but
minutes.
we've done a little bit of dancing around intimate relationships and the nuances of it in terms of what is it? What is a relationship? What is love? And it's weird because we're all at a certain age and we've all kind of done this thing where we've kind of put our hand up and we counted 4 or 5. And then I'm reflecting, I wonder if I went and I spoke to a number of different men, if they would say, I've had 5 proper relationships where I was
They will tell
emotionally
you they've
invested.
had their heart broken 5 proper times.
Yeah, because I've been
Opposite to
brokenhearted,
us.
and being brokenhearted.
Yeah, let's
It-
talk
it
about
can-
that before we close.
Right, before you do
does
that, let
so,
me just
yeah,
run.
yeah, go
Yeah,
for it.
go
All
on.
right, so let's not talk about that yet. When
Yeah,
it comes up
I
with,
can do,
because
I-
what I'd like to know
Mhm.
is for a man like you that I know you're articulate and
Mhm.
you can articulate your words properly.
Mhm.
It would be interesting to know what you frame as brokenhearted. And maybe if you do that, it might encourage people who are watching this today. I know I've never
does
been broken.
brokenhearted. So I kind of explain
How would you do-
that.
what would that be?
What brokenhearted means for me,
Or looks like.
at the time, because at different stages, at different relationships, brokenheartedness can look like different
things. I get
so
that.
if you've been invested in a 17-year marriage relationship, being brokenhearted at the end of that is going to be different to the feelings that I had when the relationship ended with the first person that I loved when I was at school.
The girl you was talking about.
So the difference is at different stages of your seasons in life, you have different investments in relationships. So one of the things that we can talk about is when you have a relationship with them, when you have a relationship with someone, you're thinking about a future.
Of course.
So now when that relationship breaks down, you have to be thinking about a new, so you've lost that
thought,
dream
all of those dreams, all of those plans.
Relationship.
Yeah.
So I've done some work around domestic violence. And one of the things that a lot of professionals will ask, and some women in the audience might relate to this, or some men that's been in abuse, why didn't you just leave?
Mm.
And the reason why is because of loss. They might lose their home. They might lose their financial freedom. They might lose their social circle. They might lose their social status. There's a lot of things that people are afraid to lose why they will stay in a relationship.
Men and women, both.
Men, both of us. So when I think about what does brokenheartedness look like, for me, it's about the loss of some of the dreams, the aspirations, the friendship. Some people, when they have a loss of a relation, they lose children because now children have become part of
that breakup situation. Yeah.
And then you might lose connection to family members. You might lose connections to a stepmom, a stepdad. You might lose connection.
How does it transpire for somebody?
How does it transpire?
Yeah,
because like I said to you,
the reason I want you to describe that is I can honestly say to you when you've because I trust your articulation.
Yeah,
I trust that.
Yeah,
in many people that I'm going to put this to.
Yeah,
believe me that I know.
Yeah.
So when I'm saying to you. Tell me what it looks like.
What does it look like? I've
because you
told you what it
said
looks
you
like.
are. Yeah, I get that losing all that stuff. But how does it look like for the person who's broken
hearted? What does it look like for the person?
Behavior-wise,
everything is different.
Mindset-wise,
everyone.
On the moving forward.
Answer for Joe Public.
No, of course.
But what we can do is we can make a kind of analysis of men in our community when they've lost relationships, i.e., what does it look like? When I see men in the club every weekend drinking, are they having fun or are they escaping from the loss?
Yes.
When I see people gambling, are they trying to cope with the loss? When I see people, when I see people that are homeless and walk in the streets.
When you see people taking drugs. It's all
all of these things of what
we can say that about the gym. So I can go gym tomorrow and see Bear Man in the gym. I can be thinking,
but maybe that is.
We can say that about everything. We can say about football matches.
If you're going to say that about clubs,
if you're going to say that about nightclub,
I'm going to pause you
because I go out. And I'm not broken-hearted, and I go out nuts. You know what I go out to release. That's my different reason. That's my buzz.
But watch this.
Do you understand?
You're out there for that buzz, and that's cool. But remember this: in all aspects and genres of life, there are people there for different reasons. So when you're partying every week because you love to party, because you're insatiable, no problem. There are other people that are partying because they don't want to be at home by themselves. Or they're getting over that loss and they want to meet someone and have that rebound effect.
Exactly.
Everybody does
different.
something.
And what does it look like?
Reason.
So like, I used to work in the drugs field and we talked about the cycle of change. You know it, the Duluth model. I mean, I can't pronounce their names. But the first stage is pre-contemplation. Ross, I didn't even realize I'm overweight. Then you start contemplating. Yep. I've got to do something about this.
Yes.
Then you move into the action stage. Yep. You join the gym.
Yep.
And then you move into the maintenance stage. I'm going to the gym.
You're going to keep going.
And then you might have a relapse where I don't go for a month. And then you move back into pre-compliance. I haven't been gym for a month. My belly's getting a bit big. And then you move back. So in regards to the relationship, you go through these processes of loss. And there's some things that different people might experience. They might experience some contemplation. What was my role in the breakup of this relationship?
Yeah.
How do I become better?
Accountability.
This is something that I've
That's what I
experienced.
always
When you
go
talked
through.
about the gym, this is the next thing now about mental well-being. One of the best ways to have resilience with your mental health is to be physically active. So 2 weeks ago, we had our guest speaker. His name was Anthony. And
I
he
saw a
spoke
clip of
about
that.
his journey. when
And he had, the
went
mental,
from-
he had the mental breakdown
Yeah,
and everything.
so
Yeah,
you
I saw a
asking
bit
me,
of that.
what did brokenheartedness look like? Even though his experience wasn't from a failed relationship,
Yeah, I didn't get that.
he had poor mental well-being. And what he said is this: I couldn't function at the end. That's when I'm running down whatever high street naked. But he also said for a period of time, he was depressed. But he used to go to work and pretend to his wife,
that
I'm
he was
okay,
getting on.
and sit outside the car, in his car, and cry. So in regards
It's
to your
sorry,
question,
it's like a functioning alcoholic.
it's like a
Some
so
people can give
so
up.
so
Yeah.
so this is interesting, and I wish we had more time.
Mm.
Sometimes when intimate relationships end, sometimes people function as if nothing's happened. And what that
Everything
is
happening.
a defense mechanism
Yes.
to kind of protect yourself. Why do we build defense mechanisms? We build defense mechanisms because we want to protect ourselves
So
from unpleasant feelings.
I say the same reason you would have CCTV in your home. The same reason.
Yes.
Why?
The
Why?
same reason
Protection.
the same
Protection.
reason you'd
So
wear a
we build
seatbelt.
defense
The
mechanisms.
same
We
reason you
build
put a
defense
passcode on your
mechanisms.
phone.
We
Yes,
build them.
we do that with everything around us. And when we're in love with people, when we got family, they're embraced in that passcode. We extend that. When you meet somebody or you got a new child or whatever, you get a family, it goes from this you want to that. So it's
what
a
about
natural.
then?
It's a
So
natural thing that we protect those we love. and
while
what we
you're
love.
going and
You know what I mean?
protecting yourself, let me bring back in the scenario I said. So we all naturally protect ourselves in some shape or form.
100%.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong
When
with that.
we have a passcode on your phone that is
Mhm.
protecting you and your phone from your
From-
business from anybody else.
Exactly.
When somebody infiltrates your protective ring, that will make you act
React.
and react a totally different way that
and,
may
and,
be
and,
beyond
and,
your,
and let me
beyond
say
your
something to you.
comprehension.
There's a lot of, because I'm thinking, we talked about intimate relationships. So one of the things that underpins an intimate relationship is a friendship. So we kind of
Yeah.
touched on that a little bit about
Yeah.
how losing a friendship can be quite devastating
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah. We haven't even thought about when we have interpersonal relationships with family members, when we can't agree, when there's challenges. And this comes back to some of the previous episodes where we talked about trauma and how that impacts family dynamics. So because of time, I want to try and just kind of give ourselves and the audience a kind of context to kind of what we explore. And today,
Sorry, can I just cut you?
of course you can.
I think, and I was saying at the beginning of the show when we like discussing
The
this
themes,
topic,
yeah.
I said we're gonna go too far one side
If we try to
catch
go with the
everything,
five
with the
levels
five.
of
I reckon we
grief.
can continue it instead of
we-
trying to
to-
cram it.
yeah,
Let's
we-
continue
Milo will
with
be here,
what-
we'll
carry
how
on
we
next
are
week.
now, and then next week the narrative
We
can
can.
be
We got still got the family
next
loss. We
week
still got the
can be
family
like
relationship.
reconciliation.
Reconciliation and
This
recovery.
week, all we're talking about is
Is putting
what we've
stuff out
putting
there.
out there exactly, and
Yeah.
what's come back.
Yeah,
that
and
takes
the
time.
nuances of our own relationships. And when we're doing this thinking stuff together online, it's to kind of help people that might be tuning in to do some thinking for them. How does your communication with your partner look like? What does it feel like to go through loss? What does it feel like to lose that dream, to lose the home, to lose the connection to extended family, to lose that sense of identity? It's a process that you have to kind of sit with. And all of these defense mechanisms that we say people can adopt, i.e., drinking, using substances, raving, whatever it is, those are like ways that people,
barriers
barriers
facing
that people,
realization.
and sitting. And when we talked about recovery, what you said really eloquently at the beginning, Mark, is I had to do a lot of self-reflection.
Yeah,
and
you
for
gotta-
me to become a better person in my future relationships, I had to be accountable for what I
What you've
did
done in
and
the
what I
past, what
felt.
And so many people don't
responsible
do that.
Of course. we
That's the
don't.
shocking part. I've done it from Diane. I'm gonna call her name because she probably don't watch it. This is my first
Well,
from
somebody
like
will tell
from
her.
17 to imagine that.
Let me
From
tell you,
17
yes.
to 20. That's who I was with on my 18th birthday. You always remember who your girlfriend was
Oh,
on your
yeah.
big 18th birthday.
That's if you had a
So that's
girlfriend.
who I was with when I had my 18th birthday. I wasn't with her when I had my 21st. I was with who I was with for 9 years when I had my 21st. But I'll tell you this right now, from when that done, and I was reckless on those first two. I'll be honest with you, those first two, flipping heck. You see, when you're talking about substance abuse and all that, those two are the ones who got it. But the first one didn't see a recovery at all. The next one, who was my second child's mum, because you see, my first child's mum, she's not even in that 5, right? So I got 2 mums who are in that 5. My 13-year-old's mum and my first son,
None of
but
my
second
5
child,
are in that none of my
right?
mums,
So I got
three
I got
that
3 mums for my children. Yeah,
Yeah.
only
and-
two of them. Only 2 of them are in that 5. But you see, the first one, my second child, but my first son, mum, she saw the madness, but she also saw the strength in recovering and coming out of it with no fucking
language.
I do apologize, guys.
Yeah.
It's the rum. I blame
I do
myself.
apologize.
No, it's not the rum.
No, it's not the rum.
No, I know
it's not the rum.
I'm just making it light of it.
No, it's not the rum. It's the
It's
the
natural. It's
emotion.
the realness.
It's the
coming out.
realness.
It's the
Thank you.
realness
It's the
coming
emotion.
out.
The emotion is
Yes.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm proud
Yeah.
that I'm able to say that.
Yeah.
There were no rehab. You know, I went away, come back, picked it back up. And when I quit, I wasn't even away. I quit because I just had enough one night.
Yeah,
So
but you
she-
see, like
she-
this is
she- she
important
was able
because
to
I'm
see the
thinking I'm
difference.
gonna draw us in. I'm gonna draw us in because I'm aware of the time, and I think my Tissot.
Yeah, we got
watch is telling
6
us-
minutes.
and
before
I
we
have to
quit.
be mindful of the public out there, and I also
I
have
do
to
want
bring
to
us back.
apologize to the public for the bad language. I really,
They've heard
really,
worse, don't worry.
yeah, I
they've
really
heard
do want
worse.
to
And
apologize.
I
I know they've heard worse,
think
but it's not professional, and I do
and I think
apologize.
there's something profound that I've learned today about feelings, and we all have them.
Oh yeah.
And that's the emotions. And when we go through a loss, we go through the emotions and what we're feeling. And part of that is anger, denial, bargaining, reasoning, and acceptance. And we've all had losses. I'm sure the people out. And in regards to mental well-being, what does poor mental being look like when you've had a loss of a relationship, whether it's an intimate one, a friendship, what you described earlier, being able to unwash, being able to not look after yourself, talking, escape mechanisms, all of these different things are some of the ramifications of not seeking support.
Anything that you do, if you're running a straight line and you go left or right, those left and right turns are the things that you are doing which you don't normally do. So that's the cause of the effect of what you went through.
And in regards to like just kind of talking about mental well-being, because this is the Wealth and Success Show, and we talk about finances and so forth, and mental well-being. And for the audience out there, it's about understanding that we all go through loss, and there's so much emotions attached to it. And to help someone process the loss, you have to allow them to sit with their feelings and help them process what their feelings, because how we feel affects how we think.
And how we act.
And how we
And
act.
how we think affects how we act. So if I'm feeling aggrieved by the loss of this relationship, she took the piss, innit? Next thing I'm going to start doing is stalking,
smashing up
snow
her
windows,
car,
or they're going to bug your
threatening her
phone, or when you see them
ex-boyfriend,
out, you're going to
bugging the
cuss them
phone.
out.
Yeah,
So all of these
of
things
that,
are the
yes.
consequences
Yes.
of not sitting,
Of
actually
actions.
going back, actually.
But I think
I
those
felt disrespected.
those things I think are really exclusive to people who, I don't want to be disrespectful, but people who haven't got a decent amount of pride.
No. Because you see, some of the
1000%.
all right.
Because
all right. Before you go, I'm going to stop.
Let me just finish the point. Because you see, when your pride is 110%, and that's 10% over 100.
Yeah.
When your pride levels are 110,
Nothing could knock that.
nothing's past your mind.
Yeah.
You know that.
Hear what I'm saying to you.
Wait, let me finish. A lot of things cross your mind. That bitch, that this, that what,
Yeah.
and you think, nah, you're bigger than that, bruv. You're bigger than that.
Let me.
Yeah.
And
So
this is
what
for
I'm
yourself.
saying to you is, anybody who crosses that line, where a woman's left them, and they're not like, really, try discuss it, try work it out, but it hasn't worked out, and you go, you know what? Cool. I tried my best. That's what you want. Fine. There's a line that's drawn when you say that. Fine. There's a line that's drawn.
and
that's
just
for
to
men and
kind-
women.
That's to
You
kind of
see that line?
to end it, because I'm thinking about our times and stuff.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to say to you is this: most crimes of passion are committed because of emotion.
Yes.
So they could have
Passion.
pride.
The word passion already.
Their pride, when their
identifies.
That's the wrong
when
pride,
their
though.
passion overcomes, pride goes out the window.
Oh,
Do you know how much staunch man I know that's doing bad, and they're serious man, because they allowed their emotions to overrule their logic, and they did something that when they had a time to think, they now question. They allowed their ego to overrule their pride.
That's
And
why.
what I'm going to say to the people out there is this: is that we've had an interesting conversation today. It's
Brilliant
been
conversation.
personal.
Brilliant
We've
conversation.
chopped it up a little bit. We've kind of shared a little bit. It's been kind of
We've been told it a
dance.
couple of times as well.
Yeah.
We've been.
Word of advice. I'm going to say this quite clearly. There's a song, it's a soca song. It's called Drink Water and Mind Your Business. So you see next week, gonna drink water, but chat to no business.
It's still going to be the same thing. It's
Next
still
week,
going to be the same
drink
thing.
water, but
Still gonna
not
be the
mind
same
on the
thing.
business.
But
Next
sorry,
week,
let me
drink
just-
water
let me
and
just-
share on the
let me
business.
let me just wrap up quick. One quick line. When I said, when your pride level is at 110, it means emotions, that emotion or that driving force has to be 111%. It means it has to go at least 0.5% above your pride. So when you put your pride level to the ceiling, yeah, that's the barrier that you put around you against making them kind of stupid decisions. And it doesn't even have to be stalking. It can be, oh, she dropped me the other day. You call her, she don't answer.
And
Call her
again,
again,
I'm
she
going
don't
to
answer.
pause you. This
You
is
call
what
her
we're going
again,
to
she don't-
talk about next
At that
week.
point, you cut off. Your pride's 110%. So it could be the littlest thing, like calling an ex and calling, and she don't want to talk to you. Calling, she don't want to, or turning up at the door uninvited, turn up at the office uninvited, and goes to the extreme end of the
Extreme,
passion.
yeah. What I'm going to say
It's all the
is
same.
that it's been interesting having this conversation. I hope that Joe Public out there has heard our thinking and heard us kind of exploring some of the things. And just to kind of put a cap on it, mental health is really important in our
It's real.
community, and
It's
men
real.
and women, but because this is the show about the wealth and success of men, look out for your brothers, look out for your uncles, look out for your nephews, look out for your
cousins,
nieces,
your
because
peers.
all of these things can impact their mental well-being and impact their functionality. We talked about some of the signs. If they're not getting up, if they're not going to work, if they're not communicating, if they're not expressing themselves, they're not eating, they're not physically looking after themselves. All of these could be signs that, and we spoke about the spectrum of mental health. You don't just go from one aspect to running out. It's a decline. So for the audience out there, do that. Mark, you're going to have the last word.
I don't want the last word, but I will say this. In
That's a
the
first.
capacity of what I do,
Mhm.
I really get to understand when I engage with these students and I'm talking to them, no matter what advice I'm giving to them, how much my ear is cock open to listen to them, the most important thing that I can do when we finish talking is give them a hug. And I make sure it's, well, not the girls, but the boys. It's the boys, 100, before they leave my office, they get a hug. Come here, bring it in. Clip hands. Give me a hug. Because enough of them don't feel that affection. And when you don't get affection, okay, it directs, you don't get no affection, your emotions are directed a different way. If you feel love, you know love. If you feel anger, you know and display anger. So it's always good to give balance in life.
In life, for real.
Yeah, and that's one thing I try to make sure that I promote and do is that I hug them and make them know I care about you. No homo, I care about you and where you're gonna go. And you'd be surprised how just that little thing there
How much difference it
feels,
makes,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody in in some shape or form wants to feel loved.
And I think that is a good way
to
to
end,
end our
the night.
conversation. That Kelly Price said it in her song, isn't it?
Yep.
And what was the song title of the song? You're a Sound Man.
Love. It was
Only love will set
free.
you free.
Set you
Okay.
free. That's right.
Audience out there, I want to
Only
give you
love will set you free, guys.
What is it? A
Only-
thumbs up. Boom, bam.
We'll
don't
see
know
you
the
guys
thing
next
go.
week,
Boom, bam.
Wednesday.
Boom,
Back
bam.
again,
Boom,
7:30
bam.
next week.
See you later.
In the
Next
meantime,
week,
have a great week,
We'll be
guys.
a band
And have
of
a great
4,
weekend.
maybe 5.
We might be 4 or 5 next week.
But it's
Yeah.
always a great conversation.
Peace.